What happened to the X-Men and Fantastic Four between the events of LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 1 and 2? Is LEGO Marvel Avengers canon to the LEGO Marvel timeline? The LEGO Marvel timeline is a mess, with 10 TV shows and comics tying into the games, not to forget that one scene from Across the Spider-Verse. Also, how does Batman know about the Avengers in the LEGO movie universe? It's confusing, and nobody on the internet has correctly pieced it all together, but today I aim to create a definitive timeline for all the events in the LEGO Marvel universe, connecting it all together with confirmed answers to the disappearance of the Fantastic Four and where the X-Men were during the events of LEGO Marvel Avengers. I will not be wasting time by going through all the hero origins like Captain America in the 1940s, and I will be starting with the first significant event in the timeline. I hope to make Kevin Feige proud. Now that you know the rules and so do I, let's begin. This is the confirmed Earth number for the LEGO Marvel universe, where all LEGO Marvel media takes place, just like all the events of the MCU take place on Earth 616. The Earth number was featured in Across the Spider-Verse. Yes, that Spider-Man is the same one from LEGO Marvel Super Heroes. But this Earth looks completely different, almost like the LEGO movie universe. So how do we know that Earth 13122 is the same Earth where all the LEGO Marvel comics, games, and shows take place? Well, with the recent release of the latest LEGO Marvel show, Mission Demolition, the show's description labels it as the 10th entry in the popular signature branded storytelling series, and in LEGO Marvel Mission Demolition, they use the Earth number 13122. With all the shows being connected, that means they all happen on Earth 13122, and one show is a direct sequel to the events of LEGO Marvel Super Heroes, meaning everything's connected. But how do we go about connecting it, and where does the timeline start? Now, you might assume that the timeline begins with LEGO Marvel Super Heroes, but it actually starts with LEGO Marvel Avengers in 2012. For years, fans have speculated, is LEGO Marvel Avengers canon within the LEGO Marvel timeline? And it is, but not how the game shows it. The game shows the events of Avengers as a direct retelling of Earth 616's timeline, the MCU with comedic moments. That is precisely what TT Games aim to do, create a LEGO game based on the MCU. However, the events of Loki attacking Manhattan are different on Earth 13122, as confirmed by the comics that were released with the LEGO Marvel Super Heroes sets in 2012 and 2013. The comics give us direct answers to the whereabouts of the X-Men and Fantastic Four during Loki's invasion of Manhattan and how it actually happens on Earth 13122, starting with Issue 1, Wolverine's Betrayal. The comic kicks off with an unexpected invasion on New York City. Captain America sounds the alarm, rallying the Avengers as Loki's forces descend. Meanwhile, Wolverine has left the X-Men and joined Magneto and his mutant brothers. Their plans are then interrupted when Deadpool accidentally stumbles across their secret base. Chaos erupts, leading to a wild battle that forces Deadpool to make a hasty escape back to his helicopter. Though the comic ends here, it hints at Deadpool alerting the X-Men, who arrive in time to defeat Magneto. Magneto is then locked up at the raft alongside Sabretooth and Mystique, tying directly into level 4 of LEGO Marvel Super Heroes, where they are shown locked up in the raft. With Professor X's guidance, we can assume he helped Wolverine turn good again. All of this takes place during Loki's invasion, which explains the X-Men's absence. As for the rest of the issues, we see how the events of the Avengers unfold on Earth 13122. Loki arrives on Earth and steals the Tesseract from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base, but things play out differently from the game. Iron Man and Hawkeye attack him during the heist. After the chaos, Loki is then defeated and locked up on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier for questioning. Unlike in the movie, Agent Coulson doesn't die here. This explains why he is in LEGO Marvel Super Heroes. Loki then escapes and gets defeated, trying to attack Manhattan and locked up in the raft, as seen at the start of LEGO Marvel Super Heroes. Everything seems in place for us to move on to the next event, LEGO Marvel Super Heroes, in our timeline, but there are still some giant loopholes which need answering. Why are the events of the first LEGO Marvel game televised visualized in shop windows in LEGO Marvel Avengers. Does that mean LEGO Marvel Avengers is a sequel? Right? The real reason why these TVs are here is just a fun little nod to the previous game, but we can actually tie it into the timeline, and it makes perfect sense. We know how the events of Avengers play out in Earth 13122, and the game's version of Avengers is not canon. In terms of the TV broadcasting the events of LEGO Marvel 1, we can assume these TVs are showing the events from the first LEGO Marvel game after the events of Age of Ultron, which is canon in our timeline later on. We have established what the X-Men and the Avengers were up to in 2012, but what about the other characters missing from our timeline? Where was Spider-Man during the events of Avengers? At the start of LEGO Marvel Superheroes, Spider-Man is already an established hero, with Nick Fury and the Avengers aware of him. Thanks to yet another LEGO Marvel comic, we know exactly where he was. Nick Fury had warned Spider-Man of an imminent attack on the Daily Bugle after J. Jonah Jameson exposed the Beatles' partnership with Doctor Doom. The comic is a little bit messy, and it is based on the Beatlemania episode from the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show. A giant battle breaks out and Nova comes to help Spider-Man. The comic ends here, and we know that the heroes win as the Beetle can be seen locked up in the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier during the show Maximum Overload, which takes place a few days after the events of LEGO Marvel Superheroes. As for Doctor Doom, he must have escaped and retreated back to Latveria, where he is seen at the very start of LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Aside from the Fantastic Four's whereabouts, all major characters are exactly where they need to be in the timeline to flow us nicely into the next entry, which is LEGO Marvel Superheroes! LEGO Marvel Superheroes takes place in August 2013, the same year the game was released. I'll touch upon how I know the exact month the game takes place in later on, as this becomes very important when tying in the post-credits scene to the opening of LEGO Marvel 2. So if the events of the first game take place in August of 2013, what happens in the months before? Now, we do not have many answers for this apart from a voice line from Agent Coulson in the level Sand Central, where he says, "Welcome back to New York, gentlemen." Now, this indicates that the Avengers were either on vacation or dealing with another villain. You could argue that they were dealing with the events of Sokovia and Ultron, but this is wrong as this fits in later on in the timeline. The game opens up with Silver Surfer arriving on Earth searching for planets for his master Galactus to consume. Now, it's very important for me to mention here that there are theories about how Galactus doesn't have any variants and there is only one Galactus across all Marvel media. Meaning that this Galactus is the exact same one who fights battle buses in Fortnite. How do we explain him looking like Lego and then not all of a sudden? Well, we know that in the Marvel comics, Galactus can change his size and appearance using adapted appearance, which explains him looking like Lego and then not. Galactus can also travel the multiverse, and this later explains where the Fantastic Four disappeared to between the events of LEGO Marvel 1 and 2. With the Galactus theory cleared up, Silver Surfer is then ambushed by Doctor Doom, who was informed by Loki about Galactus's arrival. How did Loki know that he was arriving? Now, we see Loki use this telepathic ability in the game and in the shows where he can see across the cosmos. This is how Loki spoke to Doctor Doom from the raft. Doctor Doom then blows up Silver Surfer's board accidentally, shattering it into tons of cosmic bricks. Doom hires villains to look for the cosmic bricks so he can build his Doom Ray and save the world from Galactus. He's actually a hero in this game, and then after he can conquer it, Nick Fury assembles all the heroes to recover the cosmic bricks and stop the villains. Captain America meets Mr. Fantastic, implying that they have not met before, but Mr. Fantastic is aware of Tony Stark. This shows that the Fantastic Four have not worked with the Avengers before, but they have worked with Tony Stark. This is probably because Mr. Fantastic and Tony Stark invent stuff. The heroes all set out to take down multiple villains and recover the cosmic bricks. Iron Man and Hulk then respond to a prison riot at the raft, where Iron Man and Hulk meet Wolverine, and Iron Man references his betrayal, saying he is one of the good guys now.
You should know by now, he's one of the good guys.
The villains succeed and break out of the raft alongside Loki, who heads back to Asgard to steal the Tesseract. Where it got locked up after the events of the Avengers, Magneto then controls the Statue of Liberty to steal energy from a power station to fuel his space station. Doctor Doom then successfully builds his Doom Ray on the space station and gets betrayed by Loki. The heroes take down Magneto and Doom, and then Galactus arrives. Loki mind controls him, and the heroes and villains decide to team up to save the world on one condition: that they get a chance to escape after they take down Loki and Galactus. After one epic boss battle, they succeed. Galactus and Loki are defeated, and Nick Fury takes back the Tesseract. Silver Surfer's board is repaired, and he sets off to find Galactus in the cosmos alongside Loki. Now, just like in the MCU, TT Games couldn't help but include a post-credit scene at the end of LEGO Marvel Superheroes. However, before this post-credit scene officially slots into the timeline, a significant event takes place between Loki's defeat and the post-credit sequence, and that is LEGO Marvel Superheroes Maximum Overload. The first LEGO Marvel show, which debuted on November 5th, 2013, and it is a direct sequel to the game, including the same voice cast. The show begins with all the villains on the loose. After helping take down Galactus, Loki has retreated to his evil lair on Asgard, and while there is no definitive answer for how Loki ended up on Asgard, we can presume that Silver Surfer found Galactus and helped transport Loki home. Notice how his scepter is different here. This will play a major part later on. Loki then uses enchanted gnome frost snowballs to mind control various villains and assemble an army to seek revenge. The heroes are unaware of the cause behind the villains becoming overloaded. They manage to defeat them and lock them all up inside S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarrier, and this moment marks the disappearance of the Fantastic Four. For a brief second in the show, a Daily Bugle newspaper flashes up on screen with a headline about the Fantastic Four being outnumbered, showing the Wizard on the front page. Now, we do see the Wizard locked up on the helicarrier, suggesting that the Fantastic Four defeated him, and after this, the Fantastic Four just disappear from the timeline and do not reappear all the way up until LEGO Marvel Mission Demolition, which thankfully gives us answers to where they went. On Loki's command, all the villains start jumping on the helicarrier, which makes it fall out of the sky. I know, it's stupid. The Avengers then realize that Loki is behind the madness, and Thor takes Iron Man and Spider-Man to Asgard, as the trio frequently work together in the first game. Thor also mentions Avengers Tower, meaning Stark Tower has now been upgraded to Avengers Tower. In the end, Loki is defeated once more, and Spider-Man receives a S.H.I.E.L.D. pass card, meaning he is now officially an Avenger, which links back to why he didn't help with the events of the Avengers. And if you look carefully at his S.H.I.E.L.D. pass card, at the very top you can see the day August 17th, 2013. This is how I knew the events of the first game took place in August, as the events of Maximum Overload take place just a few days after Loki and Galactus' defeat. This small, vital piece of information is very important when we come to the next part of the timeline. The post-credits scene of LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Everyone knows it directly connects to the start of the second game, but this post-credits scene technically doesn't exist in the timeline. Why? Because LEGO Marvel 2 immediately retcons it. The Guardians of the Galaxy look completely different, and the season has shifted. It's now winter, but when exactly? 2013? There is no possible way the opening of LEGO Marvel 2 takes place in the winter of 2013. Avengers Tower is missing, Avengers Base has replaced the X-Mansion, meaning the events of Age of Ultron must take place before. Captain Marvel is now established alongside tons of new heroes. All this cannot happen in a few months, so what comes next? Nothing much happens in 2014 apart from the events of the Winter Soldier, which weirdly become crucial to our timeline. Because of Avengers Base being in the opening of LEGO Marvel 2, we know that the events of Age of Ultron must take place before, but there is one thing that is stopping us moving into the events of Age of Ultron, and that is Loki's scepter, as it contains the Mind Stone needed to create Vision. Remember when I mentioned Loki's scepter changing between LEGO Marvel 1 and Maximum Overlord? At the end of LEGO Marvel Superheroes, Loki is knocked into a portal with Galactus, still holding his scepter containing the Mind Stone. However, by Maximum Overlord, Loki's scepter is completely different, missing the Mind Stone. Same goes for in LEGO Marvel 2. So this means S.H.I.E.L.D. must have somehow retrieved the scepter between these events. Did Silver Surfer hand it over? Did Thor? Or was there a secret mission we'll never know about? What we do know, Loki ends up with a new scepter, and S.H.I.E.L.D. must take his scepter that contains the Mind Stone, which then gets infiltrated by Hydra in the events of the Winter Soldier. With that loophole filled in, we can perfectly now go into the events of Age of Ultron. Unlike the events of Avengers in the game not being canon to the timeline, Age of Ultron is canon. I'm sure you have seen Age of Ultron. The Avengers take back the scepter from Hydra, who used it on the twins to give them special mutant abilities. Tony Stark and Bruce Banner discover that the scepter contains the Mind Stone. They use it to develop Ultron, who then becomes evil. Ultron creates a android body, and before he can upload his consciousness into it using the Mind Stone, the Avengers steal the body and Vision is brought to life. The Avengers then defeat Ultron in Sokovia, preventing global destruction. Vision destroys the last Ultron minion, or so we thought. Thanos is then introduced into our timeline, who becomes a major villain later on. With the Avengers saving the world once again, the news covers how the Avengers have saved the world multiple times, explaining the TVs in the open world. Avengers Base has now replaced the X-Mansion, but that leaves us with a giant question. Where are the X-Men? We know they are not dead because they later appear in the timeline alongside the Fantastic Four. It is clear that they must have relocated, but where did they relocate to? Now, it is possible that they moved to the island you see in LEGO Marvel Superheroes during the level Raptorus Rise, and many fans speculate that this island is Geonosia. Geonosia is a nation that is on an island where tons of mutants live. And it does make a lot of sense. In the game, it is referred to as Magneto Island, but in the Marvel Comics, Magneto acquired Geonosia by demanding to the United Nations that the mutants deserve a nation of their own. The United Nations then gave Magneto an island. The island we see in the level Raptorus Rise. The X-Men must have relocated here and started forming the nation of Geonosia, because this island belongs to mutants. And this directly connects to the show LEGO Marvel Avengers Code Red, and this is the first time we see Wolverine since Maximum Overlord, and they find him on an island. With the Fantastic Four still missing, the Baxter Building has been shut down and replaced. More on that later. For the next entry in our timeline, we have LEGO Marvel Avengers Reassemble.
I'm in strings, but now I'm free.
Ultron is back. It turns out Vision didn't fully destroy the last Ultron minion, and if we slow the cutscene down at the end of LEGO Marvel Avengers, you can see it. Ultron then plans his revenge and gets in contact with Yellow Jacket. Meanwhile, at Avengers Tower, the Avengers are celebrating Falcon completing his training at Avengers Base and officially becoming an Avenger. Then, all of a sudden, Ultron strikes back, using Yellow Jacket to take control of Iron Man's armor. Ultron then heads to the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier to get the access codes to the Iron Legion. The Avengers then call Ant-Man to help take care of Yellow Jacket, meaning the events of Ant-Man must have taken place shortly after the events of Age of Ultron, similar to Earth 616's timeline. Ant-Man successfully beats Yellow Jacket and something unexpected happens. He lands in Spider-Man's web. The last time we saw Spider-Man on the timeline was at the very end of Maximum Overlord when he received his S.H.I.E.L.D. pass from Nick Fury. So where was Spider-Man during the events of Age of Ultron? And LEGO Marvel Avengers Reassemble actually gives us the answer. He has been training on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier alongside Iron Spider. Now, I don't know why Iron Spider's here, it's just kind of random, and I'm gonna brush over it because it doesn't affect the timeline too much. Also, I want to point out that a billboard of the Guardians of the Galaxy can be seen in Avengers Reassemble. Ultron is then defeated and fully destroyed forever, or so you thought. In 2016, the events of LEGO Marvel Climate Conundrum take place, this show released in 2020. Following Sokovia's destruction, Tony Stark builds a weather machine to try and help the environment. Until it is stolen, but by who? Dun dun dun! Red Skull. Red Skull plans on using the weather machine to destroy the world, the Avengers stop him by calling in Captain Marvel, explaining her sudden appearance in LEGO Marvel 2. Justin Hammer is introduced in the show and starts out as a villain but becomes a hero. Now this becomes very important later on as Tony Stark and Justin Hammer merge their industries together. This small little detail helps us explain what happened to Avengers Tower during LEGO Marvel 2. As when we see Manhattan in LEGO Marvel 2 just before Kang attacks, you will notice that Avengers Tower is gone. LEGO Marvel 2 is a very loose sequel, barely referencing the previous game. Aside from Galactus and Loki's defeat, Gwenpool does mention Deadpool in her intro cutscene, but that is it. If we take a look at the release date of LEGO Marvel 2, November 2017, it perfectly fits into our timeline. If we use the release date for when the game is set, it explains why there is snow all of a sudden, and the 4-year time gap between LEGO Marvel 1 and 2 can fit in all the events that have previously taken place on our timeline. The X-Men moving to Geonosia, the Fantastic Four still lost on their mission and the Baxter building being shut down, the introduction of tons of new heroes, but it does leave us with one big unanswered question. Why did it take the Guardians of the Galaxy 4 years to respond to a distress call?
Appreciate you answering our distress call, but the Avengers and their allies defeated Loki's master plan. And we're on top of all the usual planet-wide villainy.
No, there's something else.
The Guardians didn't come earlier because they knew Earth's heroes defeated Galactus. Nick Fury thought they were late responding to the distress call, then Star-Lord says no, there is something else, warning them about Kang after facing him on Xandar. This simple scene also confirms all the other events that have taken place in our timeline so far. Nick Fury mentions they are on top of all the usual planet-wide villainy, referring directly to Ultron and Red Skull in Climate Conundrum, and the 4-year time gap also goes to explain the Guardians' outfit changes from the billboards. Just as everything starts to make sense and fit in place, one wild party at Avengers Mansion derails our entire timeline. All thanks to 2 lines of dialogue from She-Hulk and Daredevil.
The Avengers to host a great victory rap party.
A great job they did on Loki.
Okay, this must mean the second game takes place right after the first. They are celebrating Loki's defeat and it's a rap party. This is the final loophole to explain. To confirm LEGO Marvel 2 is set in 2017. An explanation to the party is that they are celebrating saving the world multiple times, and with She-Hulk stating it's a rap party, they have probably just dealt with another villain. As for Daredevil, he is just simply complimenting the Avengers on how good of a job they did on Loki back in the day. This scene really annoys me, as the only reason it is here is to remind us the fans of the events of the first game, but then it doesn't answer anything else, like where are the Fantastic Four, where are the X-Men, where's these new heroes come from? Like I said, it's a very loose sequel, but I managed to tie it all together. Ultron comics can be spotted in Avengers Mansion, meaning comics have been made about how they defeated Ultron. The strangest mystery to me though about LEGO Marvel 2 is Avengers Tower. Why is it gone? You cannot spot it in the city at all. Now, we could assume that after the events of Climate Conundrum, Tony Stark and Justin Hammer merge their industries and relocate, explaining why Avengers Tower suddenly disappeared, leading Tony Stark to buy a mansion to use as the new base of operations for the Avengers. This explains where Avengers Mansion comes from. With all the loose threads tied up, we can now finally move into the events of LEGO Marvel 2. Kang creates Chronopolis by merging multiple timelines and destroying the Nexus tree. The Inhumans are introduced, yay, and Cosmo. This is where Spider-Man meets members of the Spider Society, linking to Across the Spider-Verse. The Avengers all split up and hunt down the Nexus shards from the destroyed Nexus tree and use it to try and bring Nowhere inside of Chronopolis. So they can use Nowhere as an EMP to shut down Kang's defenses, but they accidentally bring in RuggedEagle the Living Planet through the time and space portal, and strangely this portal looks like the one from LEGO Dimensions. This might explain how Gandalf knows about the Avengers later on. Kang's defenses are shut down and the Avengers defeat him. Ravonna then uses Kang's time crystal and restores the timelines. Everything returns back to normal until the end of the post-credits scene where Ravonna states it's Terminatrix now coming from the future, teasing LEGO Marvel Superheroes 3. I am going to ignore this post-credit scene as it doesn't tie into anything coming up, and it will most likely be retconned when we get the next LEGO Marvel game, whenever that may be.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Remember this post-credit scene? Well, it finally pays off in our next entry, which is LEGO Marvel Superheroes Guardians of the Galaxy Thanos Threat. Taking place just a few months after the events of LEGO Marvel 2, we see the Guardians of the Galaxy trying to return the Build Stone to Asgard, which has replaced the Reality Stone in Earth 13122. Because of the events of LEGO Marvel 2, the Avengers and the Guardians have become a lot closer, and with Gamora being the adopted daughter of Thanos, Gamora informed the Guardians about Thanos' plans, who then informed the Avengers. Thanos, with the help of Ronan the Accuser, take back the Build Stone and build a BLT. Yeah, a big laser thingy, that's what it's called in the show. The Guardians eventually defeat Thanos and hand the Build Stone over to Thor. Then we skip to 2018, where Thanos strikes again in Black Panther: Trouble in Wakanda. Nothing major happens in this show that affects our timeline, but it does nicely link together with Thanos Threat, as at the start of the show, the Avengers are sat in a diner having a BLT that Star-Lord recommended in Thanos Threat. Thanos then attacks Earth and the Avengers know about him thanks to the Guardians and they take him down. I know, Thanos in the LEGO Marvel timeline is a joke. The events of Across the Spider-Verse happen in 2019. Spot enters Earth 13122. Spider-Man contacts Miguel to inform him about the anomaly. Miguel says he is one of the best, meaning Spider-Man has probably been busy helping the Spider Society after the events of LEGO Marvel 2. Between 2019 and 2022 in our timeline, a couple of shows take place, but these really do not affect the timeline whatsoever. They're just individual stories that can go anywhere. So, our next major entry in the LEGO Marvel timeline is LEGO Marvel Avengers Code Red, taking place in 2023, introducing the X-Men back into the timeline. The Collector is the main villain in this show, wanting to collect anyone or anything and store it inside of his vault. He ends up stealing Red Guardian, Black Widow's dad, and the Avengers set out on a mission to stop him. On their mission, they need a tracker and locate Wolverine, who has been on vacation on an island. This could possibly be Geonosia or an island surrounding it. And thanks to one small line of dialogue, this show directly connects to the events of LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Captain America mentions working with Wolverine in the past on SHIELD Case 268.
Steve and I worked with him a while back.
Shield File 268. He can find anyone.
With Wolverine's help, they end up finding the Collector's vault and save Red Guardian, and the Collector is defeated. So, when Kang merged the timelines in LEGO Marvel 2, what happened to the X-Men if they were on Geonosia? They most likely got left behind or sent elsewhere. Now, the real reason they are not in LEGO Marvel 2 is because they didn't want to promote the Fox movies at the time, and Marvel felt including them would do that. That's why they are not in the game, but thankfully, this is not a problem anymore. As we see in our final entry on the timeline, which explains so much, LEGO Marvel Mission Demolition. The Fantastic Four are back. The story follows a clumsy damage control worker called Dennis, whose mate at work, Terry, uses him to gain access to the Regal Practice Duster, a vacuum from our world, and Terry reveals in the show that it was discovered by Reed Richards.
Discovered by the great Reed Richards, somewhere beyond our known universe.
This explains the disappearance of the Fantastic Four and where they were during the events of Avengers Age of Ultron and LEGO Marvel 2. In the Marvel comics, the Fantastic Four are explorers and they travel through space and other dimensions and discover things. After the events of Maximum Overload, the Fantastic Four tried to track down Galactus and ended up in another reality. Now, this possibly could be the Lego Movie universe. This is where they discovered the Regal Practice Duster. Later in the show, when the sign falls apart on the vacuum, it reads Galactus. This shows that they were looking for Galactus and ended up finding a vacuum. The Fantastic Four then get stuck inside this reality. The Baxter Building on Earth 13122 gets shut down as everyone thinks the Fantastic Four have died. Now, we do not have any answers on how they returned home, but we can presume after the timelines are restored by Ravonna, the Fantastic Four end up returning back home. Remember when I mentioned how that reality could be the Lego Movie universe? Well, in Lego Movie 2, Gandalf references the Marvel superheroes.
Now with Batman gone, and Marvel not returning our calls, no real heroes left.
So this means that Batman knows about the Marvel superheroes. This means we finally got the Lego Marvel DC crossover we always wanted. There is no confirmed answer to how they know about the Marvel superheroes. Could it be the Fantastic Four who ended up in their reality? Or does the Lego Movie universe have its own Marvel superheroes? A bit like how Lego Movie universe has a Batman separate to the Lego DC games Batman. Could it be linked to the time and space portal that looks like the Lego Dimensions portal in Lego Marvel 2? There is no confirmed answer, but I would love to hear your theories below. And a good friend of mine, BD1P, has made an epic Lego DC timeline video that I highly recommend you checking out. It's just as complicated as the Lego Marvel timeline. And now back onto Mission Demolition. Terry uses the Regal Practice Duster to suck up all the heroes and becomes Terrax. Dennis, with the help of Vision, embraces his powers and becomes Demolition Man, defeating Terrax in a epic battle featuring the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and the Avengers. And to prove all of this takes place in Earth 13122, the Statue of Liberty is also alive in Mission Demolition. There we go, we have done it. We have connected all the Lego Marvel games, shows, and comics to create a definitive timeline for Earth 13122. Thanks for watching, everyone, and before you go, why don't you check out me ranking all the characters in Lego Marvel superheroes. Adios!